How long did you intend to stay with him?
I don't know, indefinitely, or I don't know.
You were just going to obtain residency up there and just stay there?
More or less, but then, I don't know, I don't seem to like get along well with people apparently for very long periods of time, so I was just going to come back home. And they dropped me off by a place where the train comes by, and I was going to try to jump on the train, but it went by too fast every time. There's no way I could have jumped on that train.
Okay. So, did you have like a disagreement with them or something, or why did you leave their house and go down and stay in the shop?
It was
by the shed.
It wasn't a misagreement. It was me. Like, I have a difficult time getting along with people, and so I told them I had to leave, and they were like fine with that, and yeah. So it was like a mutual thing.
So you just left on foot then?
They dropped me off by the train, by where the train goes by the river, by a river.
Okay. Did you have were you on foot, or did you have a bicycle, or?
On foot.
Did you ever have a bicycle? Did you ever find a bicycle?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And any other transportation other than by foot?
No, not until I stole Mr. Bushy's car.
Okay. So they dropped you off at the train depot, and you obviously walked from there. How far do you think you walked? Did you walk around for a couple of days, or was it the same day that you found the shop?
I think it was like 2 days.
Okay. Where did you stay for those 2 days?
In the bushes by the river.
Okay. So when you left the river then to go, and you ultimately ended up at Bob's property, what took you there?
I was smoking cocaine with this guy, and I got all paranoid that he was going to beat me up.
You remember who that was?
I don't.
Okay, just a guy on the river?
Yeah.
Okay. So you left him then, and then just happened upon this property?
I was running through bushes. I don't know. I thought like all of a sudden him and a bunch of people were chasing me, and I was really like paranoid that they were going to attack me or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just running through all these bushes, and then I stopped somewhere to listen, and I laid there for a long time. Seems like it would not have been like overnight, all the way overnight. But then I got up and started walking again. And that's when I encountered at that shop.
So you talked about a big shop, a big shed-like shop,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had talked about a house and a travel trailer,
Mm-hmm.
and a big box van truck kind of a thing, and then a red car. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had mentioned, I think during the interview, that you had entered a shop, the big metal shop first.
It was a wood shop. Like, I think it was made out of wood.
Could it have been metal, or you just don't remember?
Maybe it could have been, but I don't think it was.
So it was a pretty good size, right? Pretty big shop. Okay. And what did you do inside the shop there?
I walked around looking at stuff, and then I was going to steal some stuff out of there. So I put it by a door, by a sliding door,
Uh-huh.
and then and that's it, and that's all well I did in there.
So if I showed you,
Just a quick clarifying question. How did you get into the shop?
I think through a side, like there was a door that you could slide out a little bit or something.
Was that unlocked?
I think that was. I honestly don't remember. I don't think it was unlocked.
so if I showed you a picture of the shop, do you think you would recognize it?
More than likely, I would imagine I would.
Was there any refrigeration in there? Or any
Not that I know of.
fridge, freezer, or anything like that?
Not that I know
But you said there was some other property in there. What kind of property?
Like all kinds of camping equipment and shop equipment and like tools and things like that.
Is that where you got his tools that you ended up taking eventually? Okay. So the welder and the Dremel and the skillet side, it was called power saws or something.
And the what?
Power saws or skill saws or something. Didn't you see you took a couple of those too?
It seems like I took some other power tools, but I don't remember what they were.
But that's where they came from, was the shop. Okay. And you stayed there for?
I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 days.
Okay. At what point did you finally decide to go over? I mean, if you were in that shop, you kind of knew that someone was staying in that travel trailer then, because it was close by. It was only 30, 40 yards away, maybe. Is that about right? So you knew someone was coming and going from the travel trailer.
I didn't know that they were living in there at the time, but then I came under the impression that somebody was, because it was like somebody was living in there, like currently. So
Okay.
that time currently.
So at what point did you decide to go over to the trailer?
During one of the days when I was getting real hungry, I thought there might be some food in there.
Okay. So you decided to go in there and look. Okay. You had mentioned before that you broke a window out to get into the trailer.
That's correct.
Okay. How did you break out the window?
I don't remember. I don't remember, like, if I put something on it and hit it, or I don't remember, to be honest. I don't remember.
There was a welder's cap.
Mm-hmm.
A welder's, like a head protector in the hole, stuffed in the hole. Do you remember anything like that? Could you have used something like that to cover your hand with?
Easily, yeah.
Okay. But you're not sure? If I showed you a picture, it might recall memory?
I remember seeing, like, some welder caps, but I don't remember how I broke the window, regardless of whether there was something in the window or not. I don't remember.
Did you ever cut your hand when you broke the window? Do you remember cutting your hand?
I don't think so. I think I cut my hand during the struggle with the knife.
Okay.
Right there.
You still have a scar of that?
Yeah.
Oh. Mind if I take a picture of that? On your thumb, or
Yeah.
is that what you just showed me? That little mark right there? You think that was caused by the...
The knife closing on my hand.
Oh, during the incident itself?
Yeah.
How bad did it bleed?
I don't remember.
So, you broke the window out of the door, opened up the door, and went in the trailer. Was anyone inside the trailer?
No.
You remember the inside of the trailer?
I don't, not any more than it just being a standard trailer, like thousands of trailer, or, I've been in countless trailers.
Do you remember if it was like really well kept, or if it was kind of disorganized, or?
Kind of moderate, like not over clean or not over dirty, just kind of lived in, not like real clean or not real dirty.
Okay. I'm gonna show you a picture of the what I think is the shop you were in.
All right.
And just tell me if you recognize it, okay?
All right. That easily could have been it, yeah.
Okay. That's
I
metal.
expected it.
That's made out of metal, so. But that's a big shop that was on the property where the trailer was. So, more likely than not, that was the shop that you were talking about, correct? Okay. So you said it wasn't real clean, but
it wasn't dirty either. It was
Okay.
not that dirty.
so you got into the trailer, and was there anything in the trailer that you were going to take, or were you just looking for food?
At first, I was just looking for food, and then I thought there might be a gun in there or something. And I've been like into guns when I was younger, so
Mm-hmm. So what did you have to eat in the trailer?
a bunch of boxes of granola bars.
Okay. Did you make any food? Just ate ready-to-eat food? Anything else?
Not that I remember. I think that was it.
Okay. And I think you told Detective Wilson that you were in there for like hours.
Probably a long time.
So what were you doing in the trailer for so long? Were you sleeping, or Just hanging out looking at stuff, or because that's quite a long period of time, to be quite honest with you.
It is.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember.
Yeah.
It just seems like I was in there for a long time.
Okay. Were you high then?
I'm sure I was, but not like, just maybe in a residual way from lack of sleep. Like REM deprivation, I was probably up. I don't know. From the time that I left Portland, I left Salt Lake, I probably slept 2 partial nights in like 20-day period or something.
Mm.
Even though I didn't continue using drugs after I left Sue and Calvin. I was probably just, still kind of gone mentally because of the REM deprivation. I would imagine that had an impact, not that it's an excuse or anything, but that's just a legitimate thing, like you could take into consideration in considering my kind of mind at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it takes away from their responsibility, but absolutely that would have an impact on, everything, whatever would happen.
So I assume you didn't have any spare clothes because you left Calvin and Sue's place. Did you take any clothes? Did you find any clothes to take with you?
I don't know. I don't think I did.
Okay.
Unless I took some clothes that I brought from Salt Lake, maybe.
How about any gloves?
I don't remember having any gloves at all.
Okay. Where did you find the hammer?
I think it was inside of the trailer somewhere.
Was it just laying there? Or?
I think so.
So it was kind of an impulsive.
Yeah.
You said that you saw Bob come home.
Yeah.
So were you
the
just
first thing that I
because you kind of knew that he was going to find you in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when what was your frame of mind then? You just didn't want to get caught.
Yeah.
So did you know you were going to attack him as soon as he came in the trailer?
That's what I thought, was that I would hit him and then take his car and leave.
Okay.
I didn't think that he would be able to, it didn't even seem to faze him. The hammer didn't even faze him.
Okay. I think you told told Detective Wilson that you hit Bob in the head.
Yeah.
So he was facing you when you hit him with the hammer, correct?
Yeah.
So do you know for sure where you hit him?
In the head.
Okay, because there's a really big gash on his eye, just beneath his eye. Could you have hit him there with the hammer?
Maybe.
Okay. So you said when you hit him with the hammer, it didn't faze him at all. It probably just made him mad.
Probably.
So what happened right after you hit him with the hammer?
He kind of charged toward me, and I saw the knife on the ground, and I grabbed it really quick, and he was tackling me, and I pulled out the knife as quick as I could out of the case and everything and started stabbing him.
So you said it was a Leatherman tool.
Yeah.
So are you sure of that, or you just think that's what it was?
It was either a Leatherman or a Gerber multi-purpose tool.
It was definitely a multi-purpose tool. It wasn't a folding knife,
No.
but it was in a case.
Yeah.
So you actually had to take the case open, remove the device, and then open it up.
Yeah.
So a Leatherman tool is you have to open it up and then take a blade out of the handle itself. So you had to manipulate quite a bit. Do you remember doing that?
I do.
Okay. So
just briefly, it was like getting tackled and just super fast. I don't know. It's like, who couldn't even imagine it, but that's exactly what happened.
okay. Was he hitting you?
No, he was tackling me, with his arms. So there were no blows being thrown. He was just coming at me, and then I actually was able to reach down while he's pushing at me. I opened it up, believe it or not. I opened the whole thing up and started stabbing him, and that's exactly what happened.
Was it like a bear hug?
Yeah.
Okay, so he had you wrapped up kind of in his arms then?
Kind of. Not all the way though. He started pushing towards me, and then.
But you were able to open it up.
I was.
And you had mentioned that you stabbed him a bunch of times in the stomach. Was that because you couldn't get up higher? Because he had you in a bear hug, or do you remember? Because there was a lot of stab wounds in his stomach.
Probably because I was down. When I went down to pick it up, he's a big guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I just started stabbing the first place that I could see, and he kept coming, and it didn't like seem to like it wasn't doing much to him. I mean, obviously it was killing him, but he was a strong man, so yeah.
At what point did he fall down, or did you push him down?
I really don't know. I don't know.
Well, at some point you must have been on top of him.
Maybe at the end, no, I don't know. I don't think. Oh yeah, and then I covered him with some blankets and stuff.
And you
Like
mentioned,
at one point, he stopped pushing towards me, and then I stabbed him maybe 5 more times, and he said, "You're killing me."
was he still
And
standing
he
there?
stopped. Yeah, and then he was falling. And it's hard to remember, like the exact details, but it just like,
How long did he live then, after you stopped stabbing him?
I don't know, maybe, oh man, maybe 5 minutes or so, maybe.
Quite a while then.
Yeah.
Because 5 minutes is quite a while if you're
Yeah,
watching something like that.
yeah, maybe.
Was he
'Cause
talking?
The reason I think that's that's when I think that I started smelling like feces and urine.
Oh, okay.
So I think that he was deceased at that point, but he may have died before that.
Did he say anything after he fell down?
No.
So he only just said, "You're killing me," when you were fighting with him.
Yeah.
Is that the only thing he said?
Yeah.
Never say anything else?
No.
So after you thought he was dead, and you smelled urine and
Sorry.
feces,
Yeah,
you stuck around for a while.
I did.
Okay. Why did you stick around?
Oh, I don't panic. I don't even know what was going through my mind. I can try to think of it and I don't even know. I was scared. Obviously, I was really scared. I think. Did they hear like a horn blast in the house that night? Do you know?
Who?
The people that were living in the house.
Why do you ask that?
I'm just wondering. I don't know. I don't know.
Where would the horn blast come from?
Like when I was driving away, I honked the horn in his car.
Oh, accidentally?
Yeah, I think accidentally, but maybe.
So you were in his trailer for a little while after it happened,
Yeah.
and I think you said you took his wallet and his ID, and did you take anything else out of the trailer? Take some food with you?
Probably some granola bars.
Okay. Anything else? Cup, perhaps?
Not that I remember.
Okay, just
There
food.
was
Where did you find his car keys at?
in his pocket.
So you dug through his pockets and grabbed his wallet, grabbed his keys. Take any money?
There was some money in his wallet, but I don't know how much. It was like maybe $30 or something, 20, 30, $40.
Okay. Did you take anything out of the wallet and leave it there?
Not that I remember.
Okay. So you eventually left the trailer, and you must have gone back to the shop, correct?
Yeah.
There was some barbecue sauce and pickles and mustard, I think, and a bunch of other like condiments and some meat that it had been taken out of a freezer.
Mm-hmm.
It was staged in the shop.
It was what? Sorry.
Like it was staged. It was like set on the floor, like it was put there intending for someone to come back and get it later or something. Do you remember that kind of stuff?
Probably.
Can you picture that?
Yeah, probably.
That must have. I mean, assuming that must have come out of the trailer. Do you
I
know?
don't think so.
Would it have come from the shop?
Yeah.
Where did you find that stuff in the shop?
I don't remember, but I wouldn't have taken.
I'm going to show you a picture of that stuff too, so that it might help you recall. This was in the shop.
Might have been a freezer somewhere.
Do you think there was a freezer in the shop? I mean, were you intending to maybe eat that there while you were staying in the shop, or you just don't remember?
I don't remember. I probably did eat some stuff in that shop or something,
Okay.
but I don't remember.
Is it possible that you brought that stuff from the trailer and like left it there while you were taking things out of the shop to leave?
I don't think I would have taken it from the camper to the car, to the camper. I mean, to the shop, and then take it out of the car.
It wouldn't make sense,
and
would
put
it?
it into the shop.
Yeah.
No.
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 It's likely you might have found this in the shop.
In the shop.
Yeah. So you did you back the car over to the shop to load it up, or were you carrying everything from the shop over to the car?
I think I pulled it over by the door. Pulled the car over by the door.
And you took some tools, a welder, Dremel
Yeah.
tool, things like that,
Yeah.
and put it in
Car.
the car or in the
Yeah,
trunk?
in the car.
In the
Oh,
passenger.
I'm not sure exactly where I put it. Probably.
Okay. And this
Both.
okay. This car this Bob's car that you
Yeah.
took, it was a red car,
Yeah,
and you had mentioned that it was a Chevy Impala.
that's my belief.
Okay, that's your belief. So, it's my belief it was a different kind of a car, but it was red. Okay. And if I showed you a picture of that, you think you'd remember?
Probably.
There's one. There's another.
With the tire.
Not yet.
Thunderbird?
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it.
Let me show you. I'll show you a picture of the inside. Maybe the driver's compartment. Maybe that might spark a memory for you. It looks like it was a manual transmission. This is Bob's car.
I don't remember whether it was manual or automatic.
Okay. But it was definitely a red car.
Yep.
Okay. This is Bob's car that was taken from his property when you left. And you had mentioned on your way south, after you left Bob's house,
Yeah.
after this all had happened, you left Bob's property that night, like within hours after killing him, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And do you remember, I know it's going to be hard for you to recall, but do you remember what time of the day this happened between you and Bob? 'Cause it was summertime, so it was probably light until about 9 o'clock at night.
Then it's hard to estimate because it seems like sometime between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m.
So it was still light out then.
A little bit,
Okay.
I think.
And you'd mentioned when you drove down to Portland, you were headed down to Portland to do what? There's a couple
I was
options.
trying to go to Salt Lake. I was just trying to go
You head back home. Were you intending to drive the car back home?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably.
But you fell asleep
Hmm.
and you hit a barrier or something.
Just, yeah, those cement medians, like on the freeway.
Okay.
Barricade, or, just those center dividers. They're concrete.
Do you remember where that was?
It was, it had to have been in Portland
And why do you say that?
or on the outskirts, because soon after I pulled off the freeway into the park, and that turned out to be Burnside, Portland or something.
Okay. The car was found with a flat tire. It was actually the tire that was flat is actually the right front tire. That it looked like it had some abrasions on it or something from hitting something hard, like maybe a cement barrier or something, barricade. Does that look familiar to you? That's the front right tire of the vehicle.
I can't remember. That doesn't look really familiar.
Okay. Did you ever get out and look at it, or just kind of realize that it was a flat tire and that it was kind of out of commission at that point?
Yeah, I looked at it a couple of times, but I don't remember the details about how it looked.
Okay. Well, the story that you told the other night to Detective Wilson actually was consistent with the condition of the vehicle. I mean, being 22 years ago, I mean, I can see why you would maybe mistake the front left tire from the front right tire.
I think I said the front right tire.
Actually, you said the front left. That's what made me go back and look at the photos.
I
But
was pretty sure I said front right.
okay, well, it is the front right. Yeah, that's correct.
Or, oh, wait. Front right, you mean on the driver's side or the passenger side?
Passenger side. That's the passenger side tire that was damaged.
If so, that's weird. It didn't seem like that was the one.
Well, nonetheless, I mean, you knew that there was a flat tire. That's why you pulled off the freeway, and that's Bob's car, and that's the condition it was found in. So I mean, it's just a little hiccup. No, it's not that big of a deal, really, because I mean, you knew that the car was disabled.
Can I ask just a clarifying question? Back to Sue and Calvin. Sue was your friend's cousin. Calvin was the husband or boyfriend. How old were they?
I would say, oh, it's hard to, I don't know for sure. Maybe in their mid-20s.
Okay. And
to early 30s.
what did they do for a living that you remember job-wise?
I don't think they were employed.
Okay. Did they have an apartment? Did they have a house?
A house.
A house, and did they live in the city limits of down in Kelso somewhere, or outside of Kelso, or?
I'm not sure of the layout there, but I know out in like Kelso or Longview, right there.
Okay. Did they have any kids?
Yeah, they had a daughter.
Do you remember her name?
I don't.
Okay.
She's a cool kid though.
And how old was she at the time?
12.
12 years
Yeah.
old. Okay. Okay. That's all I have.
You pulled off the freeway, parked somewhere to park. You were told you couldn't stay there, so you drove the car over to. Did you drive or push the car?
I was trying to remember.
You ended up somewhere else.
Yeah. There's a guy that stopped with the police officer there. Said he'd give me a hand. So I think he towed me to the gas station. And then I stayed with them for like the next 7 or so days.
But you left Bob's car in a big parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you removed all the stolen property that you took from Bob's house and took it with you with the other people.
Yeah.
Did you? There was a blue shirt that was left there at the scene. Do you remember if that was your blue shirt or could have been Bob's, or do you remember what you were wearing? If you took any clothes off, cleaned yourself up anywhere?
If I would have cleaned myself up, the clothes that I had on would have been bloody.
Mm-hmm.
So if they weren't bloody, then I don't know if I would have to look at them and see if they're like the ones that I had. Or...
Do you remember stopping anywhere on the way to Portland, like at a rest area or anything to clean up, or because you had to have blood all over you?
I cleaned up when I got to those people's place. They took the bloody clothes and let me take a shower.
Okay. Did you tell them what you'd done?
Not specifically.
You said something about making up a story about something else.
Yeah, that something happened to my sister, and I had to take care of it. I thought that would be explanation enough.
Okay.
But I mean, not that they didn't,
You were in Kelso for probably, a couple weeks maybe?
Yeah.
So, what did you do for money while you were in Kelso?
I didn't have a job or anything. I had a little bit of money left.
Okay. All right.
Sue and Cal supported us with some food and stuff.
That's your cousin, and you were staying with them?
My friend.
Or your friend, their cousin, this Randy Davis. Do you remember anybody in Kelso that you would have met and remembered? Anybody first and last name? Can you think of anybody you ran into that really sticks out in your mind, other than those folks? A bar, another house? Were you ever contacted by the police while you were in Kelso?
No.
Do you remember stealing anything while you were in Kelso, other than from Bob?
No.
Damaging any property?
No.
Assaulting anyone else?
No.
Or engaged in any fights or anything?
Using any what?
Engaged in any fights with anybody?
No.
What did you do for the 2 weeks?
Mostly got high.
Do you remember who you were getting your drugs from? Really not an issue for us now, but I guess.
No.
Okay. Were you getting it from Sue and Cal? Did they offer you any?
Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's,
Okay. Yeah, they're not any nobody's in any trouble. I just trying to confirm a few things.
I mean, you've had a couple days to kind of think about this. I mean, obviously 22 years actually, but since you actually came forward and began talking about it, did you think of anything that you didn't tell the detectives the other night that you remember now? In other words, is there anything else that you feel is important that you haven't talked about yet?
no.